Be'ezrat Hashem, Naaseh v'natzliach. I want to welcome you to another session of our TOMER DEVORAH lesson as we continue our in-depth learning of the Yag Midot HaChamim. We are up to MEE EL KAMOCHA part 2. This week's lesson is going to pick up where we left off. We'll do a small little review in the first few minutes of the class, and then we'll jump into what we weren't able to complete last week. Just as a reminder, this book, TOMER DEVORAH, is the book that promises us a window and insight to God's 13 attributes of mercy. And we know that once we are able to learn God's ways and emulate God's ways, we're able to activate God's attribute, one of the 13 or all of the 13 attributes of mercy in our lives. Above and beyond that, this book promises to also bring healing. As a matter of fact, it promises the protection from the machala. So I had a passing thought about it, only because we already studied in Tefillah the whole idea of healing. And we said that refuah is physical healing and spiritual healing. If you recall, the spiritual healing is what leads to the physical healing. So this whole thing that this book promises to save a person from that machala, it makes sense. Why? Because if you're working on yourself spiritually, if you're working on yourself where you're emulating God in human form in this world, naturally the physical healing would follow, but yet it has the prowess, it has the potential to heal even the harshest ailment that the human beings face nowadays, which is that sickness. So keep that in mind as we're learning. If you recall, we did say that it's good that it was brought that when a person learns it and learns it out loud, and that's what we've been doing in this class. We actually say the words out loud. We're learning out the concepts out loud. It's good to mention people's names that need healing. So let's take a few seconds just to put out a few names over there for people to refuah, bracha, tzlacha, in order for us to connect the segulot of this book. We did a whole class in the introduction of the segulot of the book. I don't want to go too much into it, but it's worth tapping into it on a regular basis every week, where before we start, we think about who needs physical healing, spiritual healing, and attach it to our learning as well. So Be'ezrat Hashem, that this class will be, you can just say it out loud, I don't have to repeat it, to the healing of the refuah shelema of all the petzuim, and all those that need refuah shelema, bichlal ubifrat, to Miriam bat Pesi Penina, Yaakov ben Dina, Amram ben Zohara, David ben Alia, and please include all those names. Yosef ben Sarah. And also Gabriel ben Mashiach. I would like for all of you to say this, like me saying it. Just say all the names. Yeah, just say them all out, and I'm going to also get over here to the dedications before we get started. Okay, Esther bat Bolisa, Mordechai ben Milo. Very good. Okay. Hashem, that anyone, all the people that need that refuah and the teshua will get it bimhera, bimhera, bimhera. Also, this week's class is generously sponsored by Grace Hakim, who is sponsoring tonight's class for the refuah of Esther bat Polisa, Mordechai ben Milo. We also have Anonymous sponsoring in honor of his wife, his children, his mother, and his sisters. Also for Rina Perkel, who is sponsoring the class for the bracha v'atzlacha of her husband, her family, her children, and Yehudit ben Shabbat, who is sponsoring tonight's class for the success of her family and her children. And Be'ezrat Hashem, that this class also be the success, and bracha v'atzlacha for all the people that are in attendance. Hashem v'ayach otchem, sameach otchem. And let's get started with this week's lesson. Welcome.
Came especially from Canada to see you.
Baruch haba. Welcome. Okay. So last week, we reviewed the history of Yag Midot HaChamim. You need to come with a jacket, Sarah, please. Next time, come with a jacket. Yeah, give her a jacket, please, because it's very difficult to. This room gets very hot for everyone else, and I really want to stop with this air conditioning issue in every class. So please, the ones that are cold, bring jackets. Okay, so bring jackets, please. All right, let's get started. Last week we reviewed the history of Yag Midot Rachamim of Moshe versus Micha. If you recall, we discovered that they served a dual purpose for two different generations. The Yag Midot Rachamim of Moshe Rabbeinu were for the Jews of the desert, and the Yag Midot Rachamim of Micha are for the generation of Ikveta de Mashiach, which is us. I'd like to read it inside because it's always good to hear the rabbi's words. This is taken from Imre Noam. And he says, Hapele Agadol. This is something that's really wondrous. Shemicha Navi harbe yoter muchar Moshe Rabbeinu. The prophet Micha is many years and many generations after Moshe Rabbeinu. And obviously Micha as a prophet was on a much lower level of Moshe Rabbeinu, as Moshe Rabbeinu is Adon lekol haneviim. He is the prophet, he's the head prophet of all prophets. Nevertheless, Ma'alat Yud Gimel Midot Rachamim שנאמרו על ידי משה, על ידי מיכה, היו הרבה יותר גדולים ממעלת י"ג מידות הרחמים של משה רבנו עליו השלום. The 13 attributes of mercy mentioned or that were given by Micha are on a much higher level than the ones of Moshe. As a matter of fact, they are called midot rachamim ha'ilionot. They're the upper level, the higher level attributes of mercy. And to the 13 attributes of mercy of Moshe Rabbeinu, they're called Midat Arachim HaTachtonot, the lower level 13 attributes of mercy. And how could that be? As a matter of fact, I mean, just before we go into how could that be, we see the 13 attributes of mercy throughout the year, but in the very high times of the times that we need to activate the 13 attributes of mercy, we use it in the highest level, which is in the Tashlich of Rosh Hashanah. When you do Tashlich of Rosh Hashanah, we say, MEE EL KAMOCHA, נושא עוון ועובר הפשע, לשארית נחלתו, להחזיק לעד אפו, כי יחפש חסד הוא, ישוב ירחמנו, יכבוש עוונותינו, תשאיר מצוות יום כוחותיו, תיתן את יעקב חסד אברהם, אשר נשבעת לאבותינו מקדם, and that is the 13 attributes of Micha that are on a much higher level. The Ramak says that he was able to reach the depths of understanding of these 13 attributes of mercy, Midot HaRachamim HaElyonot, and he wrote an entire book, Tomer DEVORAH, and he says over there that every single person, Kol Echad Ve'echad, Me'am Yisrael, במשך שנות החיים שקצב לו הקדוש ברוך הוא, חייב ליישם הלכה למעשה את המידות העיקריות האלה. A person must take upon himself as if it's הלכה למעשה, meaning this is the way you have to do halachically, is to act this way in the 13 attributes that, of mercy that were revealed to us through the teachings of the Ramak, of Tomer DEVORAH. ויזכה לתקן את מידותיו על פי דברי הרמק, תיקונו מושלם, ולא יעליו שום דין בשמיים. Unbelievable thing. He says that a person who takes upon himself to do this learning, to learn the 13 attributes of mercy from the book Tomer DEVORAH of the Ramak, he will surely rectify his attributes, and he'll see that his rectification process in this world will be complete, and when he gets to the high heavens, and alav shum din bashamayim. Could you imagine showing up to the heavens and no spiritual debt? It's unbelievable. Anyone who partakes in this learning can activate and benefit from such a result. Furthermore, if we have to just summarize what he just said, that MEE EL KAMOCHA, the 13 attributes of mercy of Micha, Hem Hanaga Shel Ikveta de Mashiach. In other words, Moshe Rabbeinu's 13 attributes of mercy, Hayu Bishvil Am Yisrael Bedor HaMidbar. They served their purpose in the time that the Jewish people lived in the desert. That's what it was good for. Micha Navi, however, the 13 attributes of mercy from Micha that the Tomer DEVORAH deals with, אלו המידות שינהיג הקדוש ברוך הוא את ישראל באחרית הימים בעקבתא דמשיחא. Those are the 13 attributes of mercy necessary for the end of days, for ikveta d'mashiach, and that's why it's necessary for the final generation to learn these 13 attributes and to emulate them and to internalize them. So, newsflash, we are in ikveta d'mashiach. Secondly, we are right now in the end of days, and if we want to, and when you see when the world is filled with dinim, we're really right now, tense time in the world. If you take any regular person and ask him, what would you ask from God? Maybe 9 out of 10 will tell you, mercy. Have mercy on us. Instead of saying have mercy on us, you could actually just activate mercy. You could actually turn it on. You could actually have a hand in it. How? Learn the 13 attributes of mercy. Learn the way of God. Emulate it. Copy. Live it out. The way Hashem has an attribute of mercy with us, live it out yourself, with your wife, with your husband, with your children, with your friends, with another Jew, with the rest of the world, and automatically, rachamim come into the world. Automatically, the mercy comes down. The reason why it has to be this way is because, if you recall, when we did the deeper learning of the 13 attributes of mercy previously, and we learned from the Gemara that it says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as it says in Masechet Rosh Hashanah, on the 17th page, as it says over there, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe Rabbeinu, cover yourself with a talit, and recite, Hashem, Hashem, Rachum v'chanun, Chapayim v'ches v'emet, Noseh chesed afil noseh v'fesha v'chata v'nakeh, and by acting like this, by acting like a chazad that has a talit on and saying those 13 attributes of mercy, it'll be enough. The Kabbalists say, or the Ramak says, or in general, the higher understanding of that is not just to be said, it's actually to be lived out. As it says in the book Reshit Chochmah, in Sha'ar Anava Perek Rishon, he says, you want to wake up the measure of mercy in HaKadosh Baruch Hu? He says, כדי להצליח לעורר את י"ג מידות רחמים, ולהפיק מהם את מלוא כוחן וסגולתן. If you want to awaken the 13 attributes of mercy from God, and to yield the maximum result from it, and all the segulot that comes with these 13 attributes of mercy, לא די להתעטף בטלית ולומר אותם בפה. It's not enough to just put on a talit and say, יג מידות רחמים תפילה. That's not enough. That's not what's going to activate God's mercy. And why is that? Because bottom line, we do it every day and it doesn't happen. Every day we cover ourselves with talit and we say, Yud Gimel Midot HaChamim. Where's all the thing that says about that mevatel gzerot? Okay, how many Jews say Yud Gimel Midot HaChamim? And there's still gzerot and dinim in the world. So, what needs to be done? שהרי פעמים רבות מזכירים לנו את י"ג מידות רחמים ואיננו נהנים כלל. How many times we said 13 attributes of mercy in our lifetime? Maybe hundreds, maybe thousands of times, and we're not being answered. So surely it's not just to say it. Surely it's not just to say it. But also the Gemara is not lying. The Gemara is 100% emet. So how can we reconcile that it says to do, that it says for us, that we are just reciting it and we're not getting the result? אלא צריך לקיים אותם בפועל ממש ולהתנהג במידות הטובות הללו כפי שהן מצויות אצל מלך מלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. He says, in reality, what you have to do is you have to live it out. You have to act with these good attributes. Just the same way that these attributes are found in God, they need to be found in you. And where do we learn that? From the language of the Gemara. If you look at the language of the Gemara, it says over there, Ya'asu lefanai kaseder hazeh. It says, let them do before me as such. So, Chazal over here come to say, Yomru lifnei haseder hazeh lo ne'emar. Ya'asu kaseder hazeh ne'emar. It says, if it says, Yomru kaseder hazeh, let them just say, Yomru, recite, then covering your head with a talit and just saying it would have been enough. But because it says, Ya'asu lefanai kaseder hazeh, Ya'asu means ma'aseh, you have to actually do as such. We learn from here, shetzarich la'asutan. Lekayem otan. We actually have to do them. We have to actually perform them. Bafal, with action. We have to live it out. Behanagat adam klipei zulato, v'rak az itoeru ve'eru minot me'otzmatan. Only then, when you live out these attributes of mercy, then you'll see them evident in the world. So, Yud Gimel Midot Rachamim. The elementary level that we learned took us this far. Now when we get into the Kabbalistic level, now when we're learning Tomer Devorah, now that we're learning about the Ramak, they're not going to tell you just saying is enough. They're going to take you deep, and they're going to tell you actually have to live it out. So just by living it out, if you read the words, you'll be absolutely clueless to understanding. For example, if I tell you, okay, God's first attribute of mercy is MEE El Kamocha. Go ahead. Go live it out. Open the door and go start living MEE El Kamocha. Nobody knows what to do. Nobody knows what to do. It has to be unpacked for us. It has to be explained to us. So in order to get a better understanding of that, we'll go to a few things that were said about living out. As a matter of fact, it says in the beginning of the Sefer that the first few words, the first 4 words of Tomer Devorah is exactly what we were just discussing. These are the words of the Ramak. Ha'adam ra'ui shidameh lekono. Stop. It is appropriate for a human being to emulate his creator. The whole book is just the explanation of all this. These 4 words is exactly the opening line to the book, and everything that we need to learn how to emulate God is the rest of Tomer Devorah. As a matter of fact, continues to say that Ha'ikar, as it says in Sefer Devarim, and in Masechet Shabbat, it says, Ha'ikar hu sh'adam yidameh lekono b'ma'asav v'minotav. The main thing for a person, the main goal for a person in this world is to emulate his creator in his actions and in his deed. As it comes from the word, from the pasuk in Sefer Devarim, Perek Chavchet pasuk tet, Vehalachta bidrachav. We have an actual pasuk in the Torah that says, go in his ways. Go in his ways what? Hashem is walking and I'm following him? No, in his ways, in his attributes, in the ways that he runs the world, in his characteristics. And Chazal on this pasuk, V'halachta b'derchav, Masechet Shabbat, on the 133rd page, that says, what's V'halachta b'derchav? What does it mean to go in his ways? The famous line that we all know, Ma'hu chanun v'rachum, afatai chanun v'rachum. Just like he's merciful, you be merciful. Just like he's kind, you be kind. Just like he's charitable, you be charitable, and so on and so forth. We're going to have 13 different ways of how God is merciful in this world, and it's incumbent upon us to emulate him. And as it says, Heveh domeh lo, be like him. And Rambam B'Ilchot Deot says, V'haolech b'derech zo, Mevi tova uvracha la'atzmo. Anybody who goes in the ways of God, anybody who looks up to God and copies God, he's going to bring upon himself goodness and blessings. You know, back in the days when I was a kid, what was the biggest thing? I want to be like Mike. You guys remember I want to be like Mike? It was the big Nike commercial that everybody wanted to have his sneakers because they can jump like him. If you had the Jordans, you can jump like him. Later on, you know, when you grew up in the world where there's television, you want to be like what you see on TV. Maybe the rock stars, maybe the actors, maybe the athletes, maybe whatever it is. Rarely did you say, I want to be like God. Who says that? Which kid do you tell him? My son. Who do you want to be like? They're going to tell you the number one basketball player, number one football player. Maybe now they'll mention the richest guy in the world. They want to be this guy. I don't want to say their names because we're in a shul, but this guy's the richest guy, and this guy's the richest guy. They're going to say their names or whatever. All these names of Shem Reshai Mirkav. Find out one guy, one kid that says, I want to be like God. Let me push it further. Show me an adult. Show me an adult that says, who do you want to be like? They tell you, I want to be like my rabbi. I want to be like the Rebbe. I want to be like Rav Ovadia. Hazaku Baruch. That you're looking up to a rabbi. That you set up the bar. But dare I say, can we set the bar higher? Can we be like God? Can we emulate God? Can we say, you know what, all these people that are here are great examples, both for the positive and the negative. But you know what? When I look up to something or someone that I want to look up to, and I want to be like, who do I want to be like? I want to be like God. And that is Tomer Devorah. And when you decide that you want to emulate God, what happens? You're going to be like God. I want to be like Mike. What do? You put on the sneakers, you go to the court, you play with the basketball, you're trying your 3 shots, you're trying to do the dunks, you're trying to be like Mike, right? But when you're trying to be like God, what do? You pick up Tomer Devorah, and you learn MEE EL KAMOCHA, and then you try to emulate however God interacts with us, in the same way with your family, friends, and people around us. Now, we gave some stories in the previous class. I'm not going to repeat them. Beautiful stories. If you remember, the guy that's getting married during COVID with the guy with the stereo and the cable. Beautiful story. Got some more good ones over here coming in tonight. But through these stories, we'll be able to see that quality, that attributes of MEE EL KAMOCHA. And from there, tomorrow, or just when you walk out this door tonight, say, okay, you know what? I'm going to try to be like that. And it's a life's work that day in and day out, you're trying to be a better version of yourself. That you're trying to be like God. As a matter of fact, it's our essence. It's our essence because a person is called Adam. Why is he called Adam? Because he comes from the Adamah. And because he comes from the Adamah, just like the ground, when you put a seed in it, it promotes growth. When Hashem created the man, he says, I need this man to constantly be in a state of growth. What should I make him out of? Steel? Should I make him out of plastic? No, I'll make him out of the ground. Because just like the ground promotes growth, I need him to be constantly in a state of growth. That's why Adam is called Adam, because he comes from the Adamah. But also, Arizal shares with us, in the famous conversation that he has with the Yetzer Hara, and he tells him in the a few lines. So some people have a custom to say this every morning. Ma lecha yitzri. What do you want from me, my evil inclination? Im adameh. If I just want to be like God, im adameh. I want to emulate God. Kiti halila Ezra, help me. Ubiyom tzara ekaeka. In the time that I'm in a bind, in a pickle, in a situation where I need help. Eka. I'm going to call you, and you know what you're going to do? B'ta'aneni, you're going to answer me. When is that? You know, most of the times when people are in trouble is Judgment Day. Judgment Day. When the prosecuting attorney, the Samech Mem, comes and he has a case like this, the Arizal says, B'yom tzara, on that day, I'm going to call you and you're going to vouch for me. Because what do I want to do? What was I trying to do the entire year? To emulate God. So we could see that some rabbis were already on that tip. As a matter of fact, we know that the Ramak is the rabbi of the Arizal. Furthermore, last week in the introduction, we read the introduction to the book. And it said over there something very interesting as well. It says, "Sha'adam ra'ui dameh lekono." I just want to read one more thing one more passage to refresh your memory. It says, "Ha'adam ra'ui dameh lekono." It is fitting for a man to resemble his creator. That's his duty, and that's what he's supposed to do. That's what he's supposed to do. ואז יהיה בסוד הצורה העליונה. And then he will be in that, is somewhat in the secret of the sublime form. Meaning we were created, בצלם אלוקים נבראנו, right? We were created in the image of God. The 13 attributes of, the 13 principles of Judaism, of Emunah, tell us that Hashem has no shape and no body. That's right. But he has the ability to move things, so we have legs and hands. He has the ability to see things, so we have eyes. He has the ability to hear things, so we have ears. So it's not that we're a smaller version of a physical form of God, but his attributes are in our form. Because he will be in that sublime form. But what is that sublime form? Tselem udmut. It's two parts to it. We were created like God in two ways. Physical and spiritual. The physical form is that we have parts of our body, that resemble God's capabilities. Like we said, hearing, vision, etc., thinking. However, there's another side to us that is godly, that also needs to be in that form as well. For example, Tselem udmut, likeness and image of Hashem. Because if a person resembles Hashem only in his physical appearance, but not in the way he behaves, he's causing the beautiful shape, form, face of the Tselem Elokim to be false. You have the physical form, but your inside is not godly. He says, oh, you have a good shape. The person has a beautiful face, but his deeds are not beautiful. Because the primary resemblance of the divine are through his one's deeds. That's how you are really living out your true self. Using the physical body that God gave you without acting godly, you are, as it says over here, machziva tzura. You're causing his beautiful face, the beautiful form, to be false. The only way that you actually live out Tselem Elokim is when you use this body to do the good deeds, to do one's deeds in the divine form. And what are the good deeds in the divine form? Yud Gimel Midot Rachamim, the 13 attributes of how Hashem runs the world. Now, our actions, our deeds should be similar to God's actions and deeds. We have to emulate his ways and attributes. This is the teaching of Tomer DEVORAH, and we embarked upon the first attribute, MEE EL KAMOCHA, last week. We were introduced to the almighty and all-powerful God in a way that we've never seen him before. If you recall, the opening line of the first chapter of Tomer DEVORAH, which describes MEE EL KAMOCHA, who's like you, God? It was a shocking revelation. If you don't recall, if you don't remember, I'll refresh your memory. That the Almighty, the all-powerful creator of this world was called Melech Aluv. He was called an insulted God. And not only that, Sovel Elbon. He tolerates embarrassment. Let's just stop right here, right now. Who knows God that way? Does anybody know God this way? I know God to be all-powerful, almighty, the creator, my Abba Sheba Shamayim, Melech Malchei HaMalchim, the boss of all bosses, the one who's in control of every single thing. Tomer DEVORAH, opening line, tells you he's a Melech Aluv. He's an insulted God. He is Sovel Elbon. It's worth reading the words again, just to refresh our memory. Here it is. MEE EL KAMOCHA. Who is Kel like you? More al heyot HaKadosh Baruch Hu melech ne'elav. This first midah of the 13 attributes of mercy demonstrates to us that Hashem is a king who allows himself to be insulted. Sovel elbon. He tolerates embarrassment. Ma shelo yechilu rayon. It's a degree that no mind can grasp it. Again, if I stop right here, no one can fathom the fact that God is a melech ne'elav. Hare en davar nistar be'ashgachato bli safek. Because the way that we know God is that nothing is concealed from Hashem, without question. Ve'en od rega shelo yadam nizon mitkem koach elyon. There's not a single second of the day where a person is living and breathing and existing because of the power of God. Hashem gives people life. And there's not a moment which man is not supported by the strength of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaShofeh alav, he bestows upon him everything. All the goodness that Hashem bestows upon us, the talking, the hearing, the intellect, the thinking. והרי תמצא שמעולם לא חטא אדם נגדו, שלא יהיו באותו רגע ממש שופע שפע קיומות תנועת איבריו. He says, and you won't find not one time in existence that while the person is sinning, while the person is eating the pig, while the person is not keeping Shabbat, while the person is saying, I'm not keeping the Torah, while the person is saying, maybe I don't even believe in you, in that very moment, Hashem is giving him the power to wave his hand on the mangal of the barbecue of the pig. Here, go ahead, make it better. That while he's playing on, that while he's not keeping Shabbat, he's the one that's giving the money for the gas for the car. He's the one that's making sure that he gets there safely. He's the one that he's giving them the sunshine and then the cool drink to have. There's not a second that he's not giving the life while he's sinning against the Kadosh Baruch Hu. We are so black and white that we say, oh, when somebody goes against God, turn him into dust. Imagine if that's what it was. Who would be here? But yet Hashem gives a person the ability to live, breathe, think, go against him, and gives him the power to sin. MEE EL KAMOCHA. As a parent, would you do that to your child? Would you give your children all the money in the world to go against you? Would you accommodate all their vices and all their desires and all their wrong moves? Haz v'shalom. Let's just imagine. There's a child. Oh, you want to steal? Let me help you. You want to murder? Let me help you. You want to be a drug addict? Let me help you. Imagine, which parent would do that? No parent would help their child do something wrong. Chas v'shalom. Yet we have free choices, and we make bad choices after bad choice against the Torah, against the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And Hashem says, take money, take health, take rest, take a good meal, take a steak, take a fancy car, take a fancy watch, take a wife, take children, have a vacation. But I haven't stepped foot in a synagogue in 5 years. I haven't done anything of the Torah. And Hashem still keeps him alive. Yeah. That's what he's telling us. You'll find. Go speak to people. You'll find. That there's no reality that a person sinned against God. And in that very moment that he's sinning, Hashem gives him, showers him with benefits to help him to exist and move all his limbs. And even though the man sins by means of this power, Hashem does not withhold from him at all. Hashem tolerates such an embarrassment. The King of all kings tolerates this embarrassment. That gives him, showers upon him, the ability to use all his limbs. In the very moment that he's getting life, he's sinning and causing anger to Hashem. And while he's sinning and causing anger to Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu sovel. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu tolerates it. MEE EL KAMOCHA. Can you be somebody that that experiences such a reality, that someone is going against all that is right and good, and you still can support him. So we gave the example last week, if you recall, of the guy that lent out his stereo to the guy that was having a wedding, and he wouldn't turn it off, and we said you could just pull the plug and do it, and we took a nice example from that. And when we looked at that man, we said, wow, if there's one attribute, if there's one midah that this displayed, it was the midah of patience. How much savlanut, Hashem sovel, the word sovel, tolerates, is also the root word of another word in Hebrew called savlanut. What's savlanut? Savlanut is patience. MEE EL KAMOCHA is the midah that teaches us patience. And with patience, there's a lot of subcategories. We could have taken patience and anger, patience and patience with marriage, with wife, with children, patience with patience in spirituality, patience with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, patience and emunah. So many little subcategories that we've taken to. But I thought to take patience and mastering your emotions. One of the things that causes a person not to have patience is not being able to control your emotions, being very reactive to life. And that's the road we're going to go on tonight. Before we start that, I want to read the words of Rav Yoram Michael Abergel, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, who summarizes MEE EL KAMOCHA in a very nice way before we take off to Storyland. He says, Midat MEE EL KAMOCHA, his koach asavlanut. It's the power of patience. Ha'ipuk, to able to hold back. V'kabalat ha'elbon, and receiving the embarrassment or the insults. Shel melech malchei mechim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Just like HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes the insult and keeps going, which takes so much patience, it's upon us. Because Melech Malchei HaMelachim should not be sorrowful, dismal, downcast, wretched. He should not be disrespected in such a way. But when he is, but again, we're learning God. But when he is, how does he act? Merciful. And when he is, how does he act? With patience. It's so hard for us because we live in a world of 3 strikes and you're out. But 2024 has produced a new approach. There's no 3 strikes and you're out. Just say one word that's wrong. Cancel culture. We cancel you. One word out of place and I cancel you. Go ahead with a magnifying glass. And even if they take a whole long conversation and they do surgery, they just look for that 2-3 words that you said and they highlight it in a headline, and all of a sudden, oh, look what he said, but it was in context of something totally okay. No, you said that. Cancel. There you go. The guy loses his job, loses his all the things that were going for him because of a few words. Cancel culture. There's no more 3 strikes and you're out. There's no more patience to hear you out. We become a culture where we don't hear each other out. You don't think like me, you're canceled. There's no more dialogue. There's no more patience for one another. We're a product of the generation that we live in, because back in the days, people had patience. They waited a long time till they made bread. Why? Because first he had to grow the wheat. After he grew the wheat, he had to he had to reap. After he reaped the wheat, what does he have to do? He has to thresh it. He has to take out the kernel. After he takes out the kernel, what does he have to do? He has to grind it. After he grinds it, he has to sift it. After he sifts it, it becomes flour, then he gives it to his wife. Then the wife has to do what? She has to take it and put the yeast and the water, and then she makes dough, and then she has to wait. And after she waits, what does she have to do? Put it into the oven. Then what you have to do? You have to wait. And after it's ready, then you have bread. Today, bread is like this. I'm hungry, I want bread. Let me go. So let's just say that, okay, I'm talking to a generation that had bread on the shelf since the day you were born. Ma chidush. The chidush of our generation is Amazon, right? Whatever you want, whenever you need it, very fast. And just when you think that Amazon was the greatest thing ever, they come out with Amazon Prime. What? In 24 hours, the thing that's on the other side of the planet is in my hand? The next thing is Amazon Machshava. You just have a passing thought. Delivered. You think about it, you open up your eyes, and it's right there. I mean, where's it going to go next? So we see that we have over here, we've gone into a generation which is the Google generation. The DEVORAH. I don't know what. AI. Why on AI? Right? What's going to be with AI? AI is that's it. Now you don't even have to think anymore. They did it where you don't have to think anymore. Just put something in. What does the computer tell me I should think? Or what does the computer think that is the right? They're giving you a way. They're dictating for you. Anyways, things became very easy and very, very fast. So when I'm telling you MEE El Kamocha is about patience, whoa, this one's going to be hard. This one's going to be hard because why? Because we're used to everything instantly, instant gratification. When you're dealing with a generation of instant gratification, the one thing that they don't want to hear, wait, what do you mean wait? There's no such thing as wait. There's no such thing as wait. I have an iPhone, whatever I need, any piece of information, it's now. Product, no more than 24 hours. It's amazing. How about, used to be you go to the mall, you go to the stores, you actually, the fastest you can get something is what? You get into your car, you drive, you go around the store, you go to the cash register, you pay, you come to your house, you unload it, and you take it it was a process. Still, a few hours before you can benefit from the thing that you wanted. Now, there's an app for that. You can literally shop on an app and they deliver to you. Meaning even the shopping process became shorter. So what we have over here is asking us for patience. Instacart, all those things. So now, when we say MEE El Kamocha, we're learning about patience. That's why he said that Micha is midot derachamim elyonim, and therefore ikveta de Mashiach. Why? Because what are we going to be struggling with? Patience. We're in a world that's going 100 miles an hour and only going faster. And we're required to be patient in this world. Where nobody's going to be patient, you have to be patient. When people have a short circuit, they say one word and they don't want to have to deal with you. And you have to be patient. Acting godly, nikvita de Mashiach, is going completely against the stream. As a matter of fact, that's the essence of a Jew to begin with. Why do we eat salmon on Shabbat? Why on Shabbat we actually, every Jew has accustomed to eat fish, but you'll find most people home, they eat salmon. Why? Salmon is the only fish that swims against the stream. That's the Jew. We go against the stream. The whole world is going to go one way and we're going to go the other. Even if the whole world is going with speed, with stream. No. God's ways. So to act godly is to completely go against what this generation is headed, in the direction that we're going nowadays. It continues to say, Lo nitfas hasechel. Look what he says. He says, Sablaun shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He says, in general, patience is going to be difficult for you as a human being. But the patience of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, bilti nitfas basechel. You can't fathom it. You can't fathom to have that type of patience that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has with his creations. ומידת הסבלנות העיקרה בעצומה הזאת רוצה הקדוש ברוך הוא שנלמד ממנו. And that's what Hashem wants us to learn. הקדוש ברוך הוא חפץ שננהג כמותו ונלמד לקבל עלבונותו בשתיקה. He said הקדוש ברוך הוא wants us to be like him and to learn how to be insulted and stay quiet. I have to stop over here. It's so hard for me. It's hard for me to say, I'm going to have all these people lining up one after the other, insulting me, putting me down, doing all these things, and now I'm going to do what? Nothing? Oh. What do you mean? I have to answer back. I have to, not only that, answer back and give him 10 times more. Oh, that's what you tell to me? Wait till I tell you back. Sometimes you wait for somebody, wait till he comes. Wait till he comes. I'm going to tell him everything that I've been holding. You have a gun with 22 bullets. You're waiting. Wait till you come. I'm fully loaded on you. You can't. No more. That's the old you. Can't. He's going to say something, you're going to be quiet. Why? You look up to the Shamayim, MEE El Kamocha, me and you, we're twinning. I have to. I can't anymore. I can't do that anymore. I'm different. It's a life's work. It's not going to happen. You're not going to walk out of here and tomorrow you're acting like that. It's a start. We're planting seeds. We're planting seeds of Be'ezat Hashem, little by little, little by little. You take it upon yourself. You know it exists. You know Hashem wants that from you. And eventually you'll achieve it as an individual. But MEE El Kamocha is activating patience with all that are around you. Evelisvol elbon. Do you know what's lisvol elbon? That people are insulting, people are rude, people are in your face in the wrong way, and you're not emotionally reactive. You're not answering. Like we said, patience is also controlling our emotions. I'll tell you personally, it's very difficult for me because I have Moroccan DNA. I'm originally Israeli. I'm Sephardic. I was raised in New York. Add New Yorker to it. I come over here, everybody's here slow as molasses, and all of a sudden, like, you come over here, like, what are you going to do? It's like, talk about swimming going to the stream, like, you know what it is? It's like as if somebody slowed the movie down. It's like, everything in slow motion. What are you going to do? So this is MEE El Kamocha. Continues to say, Lached, מי שרוצה להיות תמיד קרוב לשם, anybody wants to always be close to God, יאחוז במידת האיפוק והסבלנות. Have patience. וגם כאשר פוגעים בו, מעליבים אותו וכדומה, ישמע ביזיונו וידום. He says, be like God. People come at you, people insult you, people are
Rude.
not just rude, what do they call it, instigating you. Pause. Freeze. Don't react. Don't be reactive. As it says in Masechet Rosh Hashanah, in the same page of Yag Midot Rachamim, the 17th page on the first side, Kol ha'ma'avir al midotav, ma'avin lo kol peshav. You have a basket full of sins. Can I tell you how you throw out this dirty basket of sins? When somebody comes at you and you want to react in a way where you want to answer back, insult back, retaliate, and you don't, in the Shemaim they say, empty trash bin. Take the trash bin of all his sins and empty it out. Why? He just activated Ma'avir al Midotav. This guy is learning Tomer DEVORAH. Normally he would give him back 10 times more. He paused because he learned that Yud Gimel Midot HaChamim, MEE El Kamocha means patience. Lisvol elbon. And what you have to do is not react. Not be reactive. Not be emotionally reactive. And the person, Shema'avir al midotav, ma'avirin lo kol peshav. Rashi explains over there, Shebizchut avarato al midotav, in the merit of a person acting in such a way, en midat hadin medagdeket achar peshav, menicha otam v'olechet. Midat hadin comes and actually says the trash bin. And you know what it says? Trash. Keeps going. Doesn't pay attention to it. Where typically, if a person doesn't act in this way, it's like you found a pot of gold. Wait till I take this to court. Wait till I take this basket filled with sins to court. Look what's going to happen to him. So you see that your actions below are going to have a huge, huge effect up above. You need to forgo and forgive. You have to let go. One of the things that you have to do is not to harbor animosity or seek revenge. And this is going to be found in the story of Yosef. Beautiful story that is actually going to detail everything that we just learned. As far as Ikar, the main thing of a person, is כשאותו אדם שפגע בו והזיק לו, imagine this scenario, the person that hurt your feelings, the person that hurt you, ואפילו, and even though the person that is still hurting you, still bothering you, a person who's right now a pain in your side, a person who right now that you categorize, you filed under my enemy. I will never talk to that guy. You know what he did to me? I will never talk to him again. You know what he said to me? You know what he said about me? בן אדם שמפריע, מזיק, פוגע. And at that very moment, that person, that individual, needs help. Again, you're not Ramak level. We're not there yet. So you can talk honestly right now. Would you help that person? Stop, don't be fake. Would you help that person? Okay, we got one saint in the house. Most people will not. Most people, their emotions will take over them, and they will not help that person. You spoke bad about me. You insulted me. You cost me my job. You cost me my marriage. You cost me my shlom bayit. You cost me my parnasa. You cost me my happiness. You cost my embarrassment in shul, embarrassment in the community, embarrassment in the world. Today with social media, people post and that's it. There's no turning back. That guy, that person, now needs help. Would you help him? No. So let me answer for everybody, because everybody's like too shy to be real right now. Most people will not help that person. You'll stay distant. You'll pray for him. You'll ask Hashem for forgiveness. You'll understand that, that kol mishamayim, I got you. You're all righteous. But to help him, I would say that 99% of the people in this room will not help. 90%. A large amount of the people will not help that person because it's impossible. You're burning inside. Your emotions won't let you. You're preoccupied of how you've been hurt and scorned. Comes and says, Pitom nitzach le'ezah ve'esh lo techot la'azor lo. He needs help, and you're able to help him. And all of a sudden in your mind is what? Nekama time. Now it's time for revenge. He says, now you need help. How? I have what you need. I have that money. You're broke. I have money. You need that account. It's in my hand. Oh, you need that shidduch. I could put you together. Oh, you need that shlom bayit. I could have done it for you. I mean, whatever he needs, it's in your hand. I could help him. And he says, V'al ma belama la'azor lo. Why should I help him? After he made my life bitter. He says, not only that, if I help him, he's going to think I'm weak. He says, you know what? Now I'm going to teach this guy a lesson. I've been waiting for this moment. I've been waiting for payback time. Up until this moment, that's the old you. That's the old us. That's acting human. We're learning Tomer DEVORAH. Tomer DEVORAH is how to be godly. In that particular situation, what would Hashem do? He would help him. Remember, he's Melech, Aluv, Sovel, Elbon. While they sin, he gives them life. While they go against him, he supports them. You too. You too. While they're bothering you, while they're going against you, and they need help, you help. That's being godly. Again, you can continue to be the way that you are, and maybe nobody's going to ask that more than that from you. We are not angels. We're regular human beings with emotions and feelings, and we have, our characters and our personalities and all these things that we're grown accustomed to. But when you learn the book Tomer DEVORAH, we ask you, are you here to step up your game? Are you here to be a little bit different? Are you here to emulate God? Because if you emulate God, you also are able to activate all the 13 attributes of mercy that are available. In other words, there's a huge prize in the sky that you have the ability to pull the string and it comes down. How? You get tested throughout the day. And when you get to the difficult tests, such as this, where you're being tested by your enemy, you help out your enemy. You get getting tested by the people that bother you, that hate you, that disrespect you. And by the way, it could be your wife. It could be your children. It could be your husband. It could be your in-laws. It could be your family. It could be your uncle. It could be your neighbor. It could be your friend. It could be a guy in shul. It could be anyone. Are you able to get over yourself, over the emotion, not be reactive, and help them out?
What about in the case of wars?
What about the case of war?
Like Iran is sending a whole bunch of rockets into Israel.
I don't think this question is shayach because we're talking about now a totally different subject of nations at war. Here we're talking about personal development, character development, how a Jew interacts with another Jew, how a person interacts on a personal level with another person, with another of God's creations, even Gentiles, even anybody else. So, when we're talking about wars and Jews and Gentiles and Arabs and the wars, it's a great topic. We could talk about it, but it's not what the Ramak is dealing with. The Ramak is dealing with how do you refine yourself so like that when you interact with people, you interact godly with them. So that's what we're dealing with over here. For example, what we just said right now is Yosef HaTzadik. You guys remember Yosef HaTzadik? Right? Yosef HaTzadik had sorrow from his family like no other. Yosef was very much loved. He was in a very loving home. His mother died, okay? So he's an orphan. And not only that, he is loved, enamored by his father. And his brothers took him from a warm home, from the loving arms of his father, and they threw him into a pit filled with snakes and scorpions. That it says over there, out of the fear, he almost lost his life. He says that he became so white, Midrash Tanchuma says, that it looked like there wasn't a drop of blood left in him. And then they sold him for the value of a pair of shoes. And later on, he was sold again as a slave to the house of Potiphar. And not only that, over there he had tremendous trials with Potiphar's wife, with Potiphar as well. He went into jail for 12 years. And not only that, after being in jail for 12 years, he finally, which is like, just imagine, to look back all those years and be like, where, this is my family? These are my brothers? That's how I got here? Nobody cares for me? Nobody loves me? Nobody looks for me? Abba, where are you? My brothers, where are you? He could have totally disconnected and said, you know what? I hate them. I don't like them. I don't care for them. They don't love me. I don't love them. I'm going to start a new life. And how could he be started a new life? As the viceroy to Egypt. After the whole story with Paro and the Piton Chalomot, that he solved his dreams for him and he uplifted him from he was in jail in the morning and he was the viceroy at night. He could have started a brand new life, been the most popular and powerful Egyptian in Egypt. And he didn't do that. He stayed in the ways of Hashem. He stayed in the ways of his father. And later on, when there was famine, his brothers finally come to Mitzrayim. He recognizes them. And finally, that would have been his moment of, now I got you. Now you're in my hands. Now I'm going to show you. Now I'm going to have nekama. Now I'm going to finally, sweet revenge is going to happen. Did Yosef do that? Here is Yosef's moment of MEE EL KAMOCHA. What did he do?
He has to see his father.
Umacha belibo et tzaro atzum. Yosef erased from his heart all the sorrow that he went through in the previous years. Not only did he not seek revenge and do bad onto his brothers, as if it was betzedek, it would have been right for them to get payback for what they did, but he didn't do it. Not only did he not seek revenge, not only did he not go after them to retaliate, ela hetiv lahem bechol yecholto. He did good for them with all his might, all his power. Pirnes otam v'et bnei betam b'kol shnot haya bakashot v'akol be'ahava me'or panim. If you remember, he told his brothers, leave where you are, come to Egypt, I'll support you, I'll support your family, I'll protect you, I'll take care of you. And he did, and this is during the time where the whole world is going through a famine, and the entire time he did it be'ahava u'be'me'or panim. That is Yosef HaTzadik's moment of MEE EL KAMOCHA. That his brothers did the worst things to him, and what did he do? Good. He could have harbored his animosity, and he could have sought revenge, and he didn't. That's another example of MEE El Kamocha. More on patience. It says, in Pirkei Avot, in Perek Bet, Mishnah Tet, אמר להם, צאו ראו איזוהי דרך ישרה שידבק באדם. The rabbi is telling us, go out and do research. Go out and take a look and come back and report to me what is the right path that a person should cling on to. Step out into the world, come back and report to me. What's the best path a person should be on? Rabbi Eliezer comes back and says, Lev Tov. A person should have a good heart. Al ken nir'a leparesh ki lev tov midat haratzon. He says, so we have a commentary on this. What is lev tov? What is a good heart? Rabotenu limdu midat haratzon, the attribute of desire. What does that mean? Zehu hasavlan sheno ktsar haruach. Again, they're telling us what's the best path in life is a good heart. Can you explain to me what's a good heart? Yes, the details of a good heart is somebody who is patient, that doesn't short circuit, that's not quick to anger. Umitrachek mimidat hakas. As a matter of fact, he distances himself from anger. Umashiv b'ma'ana rach. And actually, when you talk to him, he replies softly. He doesn't speak in a loud voice. Afki asuro davara isbleluhu ve'en mar bepiv. He says, even if they're going to do something bad to that individual, and he's going to suffer from it, he's not going to say anything bitter that will come out of his mouth. He won't reply in a negative way. Ki cheko mamtakim ve'kulo machamadim. Why? His entire stash and mouth is filled with candy and sweets. Meaning you'll never hear him curse, anger, insult, demean. Look what they're saying over here. The best path to life is a good heart, is a lev tov. And a lev tov is a person who's patient, who's not quick to anger, and he's not emotionally reactive, and he doesn't, and when he does get challenged, he's not reactive. He doesn't, he doesn't react quickly with the sharp words and with a bitter mouth. He's calm, he's collected, and you only find sweet words or proper words coming out of his mouth. Rabbeinu Yonah says, Adam shemidah kazot shochen bekirbo. Anybody who has this attribute as part of his repertoire, tov hu gam lechaverav ulshchenav ulkol haolam. He's good for all his social circle, for his outer social circle, and also for the entire world. That's why it's incumbent upon a person, lisvol ma she'acherim osim lo. The word lisvol means to suffer. But we need to rebrand that word for this learning. Lisvol is not to suffer. It's to tolerate. You have to tolerate what other people do to you. Patience allows you to tolerate. If you don't have patience, then you suffer. It's the same word. Ani sovel, I'm suffering. Or ani sovel comes from the word sabal. What's sabal? It's a guy that carries stuff. You know, the guy you go to the hotel and the porter, he carries for you the luggage. He's a sabal, right? Or the guy that you hire to unload the truck. You have a big truck, 20-footer, and you have all these boxes. But bring a sabal. He's going to carry everything on his back. That's the same thing that Moshe Rabbeinu was also. Savlan, one of his attributes that he was savlan. Why? He was able to tolerate. He was able to lisbol, to take on his back the weight of all the Jewish people, the weight of people insulting, the weight of people being negative. על האדם לסבול מה שאחרים עושים לו. Carry it. Don't suffer from it. Tolerate it. להיות סבלן ולא קצר רוח. To be patient and not to be short-tempered. פלא יועץ.
No, excuse me.
Yes.
Can be born with that, those kind of things? When it comes to it, can they be born with that? Patience, discipline?
Can somebody be born with it? Of course.
Yeah, you become it. You become it when you don't become it later.
But anyone who doesn't have it has to acquire it. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. Everybody is imperfect. And it's upon us to learn, to acquire attributes, to constantly, again, from Adama, we have to grow. Hashem says, this is how I made you. Go. Come back a better version of yourself. Do a tikkun. Get better. You know, if Hashem made us cookie cutter, we're all the same, then that's it. That's why when somebody tells you, Zani, this is who I am. What do you mean, Zani? That's it? You tapped out? How? It's so convenient to say that, right? This is who I am. You deal with me. You morph to me. But a good Jewish home knows that there's no such thing, Zani. You know when you say Zani? On the day you die. That's when you're a product of your choices. And when you come to the Shamayim, you say, okay, Zani, after 120 years, this is who I am. But in the middle of the trip, you don't do that. Because if Zani, then Hashem says, that's it, you done? Okay, fine. I'll take you now because this is who you are. Go up to the Shamayim and report on Zani. Well, I'm going to let you keep doing more mistakes. You're already failing. Well, I'm going to give you 20 more years to fail. How's your neshama going to go to heaven? How's your neshama going to go to Gan Eden? But if you're constantly telling Hashem, Abba, I'm a work in progress. I'm working on myself. Today I failed. Tomorrow I get up. That's what we do teshuvah in Shema Lamita. I'm a work in progress. I'm working on my midot. I'm working on my anger. I'm working on my learning. I'm working on my on my tefillah, on my tzedakah, on my shmirat einayim, on all these things. You start to say, Abba, I'm working. So in the Shemaim, where they go into your file, they say, okay, work in progress. Okay, leave him alone. He's a work in progress. He's working. But the minute you're like Ze'ani, they say, okay, listen, we hit the, it's like this, it's like an employee that you're gonna, we're not gonna get much out of this guy. He's, we need somebody who can do more. Okay, fire and rehire. Look what.
Quick question. In today's generation, where everybody's so impatient, isn't there a risk of being so patient in the sense that we are perpetuating their behavior?
Very good question. Everybody asks it every single class. Every single class, everybody says that question. You asked it, somebody else asked. Everybody asks this question all the time. The thing is, when it comes to that point, you're no longer tuned into the frequency of people. You're dealing with God. You're right now, you're like, Hashem, MEE El Kamocha? I just did MEE El Kamocha. The way you are, I am. In other words, what do you say? Don't worry about what the people think. Don't worry about what the people are going to do. Because then you're on that, you're back to being on the regular frequency. When you're in MEE El Kamocha, you're more concerned of being like Hashem. And trust me, Hashem knows what He's doing. He's just looking to see that you are there. Once you're there, He's going to activate that attribute of mercy with you. And everything that needs to happen as a ripple effect from that will take care of everybody else. You don't always have to do everything. You don't always have to be in control of everything. You don't always have to feel that, if I do this, then all this has to fall in line. When you try to do MEE El Kamocha, it's upon you to just start to get on that level of interacting with God. I'm interacting with Hashem. I'm trying to be like you, and Hashem will take care of the rest. But if you're trying to do all the work by yourself with people, then you're back to being human. You're back to acting like a human, and you're back to thinking that you can take care of everything. If I say this, this will happen. If I do that, that will happen. If I do this, you're a mastermind. Go ahead, mastermind. Go ahead. Let's see how it works out for you. But MEE El Kamocha is you showing Hashem, I'm trying to be like you, and we know that activates something. So wait for the activation. Wait for what happens after. Sit back and relax. I got insulted, I said nothing. Okay, what happens now? Okay, let's see. I don't know. Let's see.
Aren't you making yourself a target?
Are you a target in God's eyes? And being a target, you're concerned about the human. MEE EL KAMOCHA is you concerned with God. So choose. Are you concerned about the people? Then stay there and deal with them and deal with how you want to interact with the people the way you think is fit. But if you're already, again, we're switching channels, we're switching frequencies. When you go to MEE EL KAMOCHA, you're concerned about what God sees you did, and then what happens after that is in God's hands. This is emunah to the billionth power. This is not. It's very hard for us to do this, especially if you are, it's very hard, especially if you are struggling with these situations. Not if this is hard for you, not easy for you. Look what Pele Yoetz says about savlanut. Ma tov u'ma na'im. Savlanut. How good and how pleasant is this attribute of mercy. Hagadol lefi godlo v'akatan lefi kotno. Everybody according to their level. Im hu resha de'ameh tzarich hu lizvot masa'am. If he's a leader in the nation, he has to tolerate, he has to carry the weight of the nation. Ve'lisbol el bono me'anashim b'nei beliam tesim kenegdo. And to tolerate all the embarrassment and all the attacks that he gets from people that go against him and insult him. And while that's happening, deal with them in a pleasant way. And this is now everybody in their home. And this is now where, this is not where we really need to listen, right? Because how do we act at home? How do we act at home? The mother, the father, the son, the daughter, the husband, the wife. That is really where we fail and succeed the most. Or we fail the most and we want to succeed. And we get triggered because we're, women are not the same women like before. And the husband's not the husbands like before. And the children are like the children like before. I know 20 years ago, children didn't act like the children of today. Chutzpah is geh. I'm out there with the people. The children are giving a very hard time to the parents. The women and the men, not everybody's staying in their lane. The woman thinks because she goes to work, so she's like the man. The husband is trying to help out because of shlom bayit, and all of a sudden he thinks that he's lower than her. Everybody's confused. I'm trying to help, she's stepping on me. And she's like, I want to help to work, now I'm in control. You guys are confused. You're like, everybody stay in your lane. What's going on? So what happens? They start to try to express themselves. Not everybody has the tools, and all of a sudden everything is static, everything is friction, everything is fire, everything is a fight, everything is machloket. Comes Tomer DEVORAH and says, savlanut, patience. The Pele Yoetz says, כל אחד בביתו לגבי אישה ותינוק לעולם, תהא שמאלו דוחה וימין מקרבת. He says, this is how you should interact with your children and with your spouse. Tiyeh smola docha. Say what you have to say. Yemin mekarevet, but make sure you bring them back. If you have to be harsh, but don't forget to be loving after. Because a lot of people, they get into a fight, they get into this machloket, and it stays uneasy, it stays tense, the fight lingers. Pele Yoetz says, שמאל דוחה וימין מקרבת, והכל לפי מה שהוא אדם, ולפי דעתו של בן לפי שניו, ולפי מידותיו, לפי השעה, לפי הצורך. He says, and you have to be a master. Each person is according to his intellect, his psyche, his character, according to his age, according to his attributes, according to his character, according to his personality, and according to the moment, and according for the need. Everything needs to be calculated before you open up your mouth. Have patience. You're not going to always do the right thing. Have patience for all that to fall into place. To be the right person and to say the right thing at the right time to the right person. It's an art form. And he said, look what he says. Tzarich peles umozne mishpat. You got to weigh it out, and it has to be very, very concise and direct. Ezoi derech yeshara. Which way is the right way to interact with someone? Have patience to choose the right words. Im lizrok mara or lisbol v'lishtok. To give something harsh, to say something out of place, or to tolerate the moment and be quiet. Im ledaber rakot o kashot. Do I speak softly or do I speak sternly? וכמו גבורה צריך לסבור על עניין הדיבור. And he says you need a tremendous amount of strength to tolerate this the conversation between people when they're fighting. החכם, כאמר החכם, הוא זה החכם, שלמה המלך, עד שלא דיברת, הדיבור אסירך. וכשדיברת, אתה אסירו. Shlomo HaMelech, the smartest man to ever live, says about speech, conversations, talking. He says, before you speak, the words, they're in your hands. They are imprisoned in your mouth. The words have no power when they stay in your mouth. But the minute shedibarta, the minute the words came out, ata asiro. Now you are the words prisoner. You know, sometimes when we said something wrong, we said the wrong words out of anger, out of impatience, out of frustration, out of a build-up. What happens? Well, if it's with your wife, she'll never forget it. If it's with a woman, they'll record it forever. And they'll bring it back again and again and again and again and again and again. That's the nature of a woman. The nature of a woman is that they don't forget. And when the time comes and you fight, she will drag every single bad thing you did from the minute she met you up until that moment. They're all interconnected. Because for women, everything's interconnected. Where for the man, he'll say, what did I say? What did I say? I said one thing. All right, big deal. No. For her, it's one thing. You want to say press delete and one thing is gone. For her, it's one thing that's a part of 1,000. So it's two different things. So that's what Shlomo HaMelech said. עד שלא דיברת, דיבור אסירך. Before you spoke, the words were imprisoned in your mouth and you had control and everything was good. וכשדיברת, אתה אסירו. Now that you spoke, that's it. You're the prisoner to these words. Those words are handcuffed to you. And you're going to have to deal with the words that you said when you didn't have patience. You're going to have to deal with yourself and your product of your choices, the words that you chose. You're a prisoner. You're handcuffed to your words. לכן יתגבר כארי לאכוף את יצרו ולעצור במילין. A person has to be strong like a lion to hold back that desire to say something and to stop the words from coming out of his mouth. He says, "Ubifrad be'idan ritcha yasim atzmo ke'ilen." This is any Sephardics in the room? Okay, here we go. In the time of anger, put yourself like a mute. When you're angry, press mute on yourself. Don't talk. This is all under savlanut, pele yoetz. He's telling us word for word how to win life. Why? Ki lo b'da'at tidaber. At that moment when you're angry, your da'at is gone. Your intellect is gone. Your decision-making process is out the window. You're talking nonsense. You're talking out of anger. Kol mineh de gehenom sholtim bo. You have a different sort. Your real neshama is gone, and you have a guest. Some sort of a shindalet is in there now, having fun with you and your wife, telling her all these things. He makes a huge mess. He leaves, and you're there with the mess. What do you mean? That's why when somebody gets angry, what they say? What's gone into you? What's gone into you? The shindalet. That bad spirit has gotten into him. He says something over here. He says, and anyone who's fallen into his share, a difficult wife. It happens. We have rabbis in history that had wives that were very, very difficult. And I'm just going to say over here, and vice versa. And maybe also it befell upon you that you have a difficult husband. How do you deal with that? Right? Keep in mind, always savlanut, right? We're learning savlanut. So, how do you deal with ishak shatruach? He says, Lo bechoach yegbar liot sovel hakol mishum shlom bayit. He says he needs a lot of power. A person that has a difficult wife needs a lot of power to tolerate everything because of Shlom Bayit. Tolerate it for the sake of marital peace.
What's considered difficult?
Huh?
What is considered difficult?
Ask any man, he'll tell you. Each one has a different. Each man has a different breaking point. Each man has a different breaking point. Some people can tolerate pain. Some people can break down very easily. Listen, honestly, you have all amazing questions. I'm not a therapist.
You have to admit the men are worse than women. You have to admit men are worse than women. You want a man to...
כאשר מכניסים אותו על פניו ועושים עמו שלא כהוגן. So what happens? So here we go. Here's that guy. Like, imagine the guy that we just described tonight. I look at him. He's beat up. He's got a black eye, no teeth. He's like, leave me my life. Everybody's, I'm a punching back to everyone around me. That's what it feels like, right? So he says to that guy that might look like that. שמכניסים אותו על פניו ועושים עמו שלא כהוגן, that they anger him to his face and they don't go in the ways that is proper. והוא סובל, he's suffering or he's tolerating all, את הכל, everything. הוא מעביר על מידותיו. בזה מרוויח שמעבירים לו כל פשעיו. What we learned in the Gemara. But he continues to say, there's a pasuk in Iyov, the Kadosh Baruch Hu tole eretz al belima, that the whole world stands on the fact that there's a person that closes his mouth. Look what it says. Sha'olam mitkayem al mi shebalo piv b'shat meriva. The whole world is standing on your shoulders. If you're that person that is sovel this reality of מכניסים אותו, עושים אותו לא כהוגן, ומעביר על מידותיו, he's מקיים the pasuk, תולה ארץ על בלימה, that the entire world is standing because of that individual that closes his mouth in the time of fighting. וכולי עלמא ידע שהסבלנות הוא טוב מאוד. And the whole world knows that patience is a good thing. ולפום צערה אגרה. And according to the suffering is how great the reward is. The whole world is on the shoulders of those that close their mouth during a fight. I want to share with you an additional story. In Masechet Shabbat, on the 31st page, there's a famous story of Hillel HaZaken. You guys are familiar with Hillel HaZaken? Okay. He says that Hillel HaZaken had a guy that bothered him when did Hillel HaZaken get bothered? Right before Shabbat. Did he get upset? Maybe I don't have time for the whole story. I'll give you the wrap up. He says, מעשה בשני בני אדם שהתערבו ביניהם שמי יצליח להקנית את ההלל הזקן איתו 400 זוז. Two men created a bet. He says, let's see, I'll bet you 400 zuz that I can get Hillel HaZaken angry. That I can get him upset. So one says, I'm going to do it. He went to the Erev Shabbat, with the minute that Hillel is getting ready and washing himself before Shabbat. And he comes and he knocks on the door. Mikan Hillel, who here is Hillel? Hillel right away takes the towel, puts it on top of his head, just like that, covers himself, and comes in front of the door and tells him, Beni, mata mevakesh? My son, how can I help you? And I could just imagine, it's like candle lighting, it's in 3 minutes, right? אמר לו, שאלה יש לי לשאול. He says, I have a question. מפני מה ראשיהם של בבלים סגלגולות? He says, why are the heads of the Babylonians round? if I could read it inside, it's really interesting. They talk about all these different people in the thing, but I don't want to go too long. But he answers him, gave him the answer of why the head is like that. You know, it's such a good story. Maybe we should. It's really a good story. All right. You twisted my arm. Okay, here. It says, מפני מה ראשיהן של בבלים סגלגלות? He says, why are the heads of the Babylonians so round? Hillel tells him, you asked a great question. He says, מפני שאין להם חיות פיקחות. Because they don't have skillful midwives. Meaning what? When the baby comes out of the canal, the head is moldable. So I guess when they take him out, they didn't shape it correctly. So in Bavel, unfortunately, they're not skilled. So that's why all the Babylonians have a weird shaped head. He went and he waited an hour. Okay, so it's not 3 minutes before candle lighting. But he waited he waited an hour. He comes back and he tells him, Mikan Hillel, Mikan Hillel. Hillel once again puts on his cloak, comes out, and he tells him, Beni, mata mevakesh. Wow, so much patience. He says, yes, my son, how can I help you? Omer, I have a question for you. He goes, go ahead, ask the question. He says, why are the eyes of the Talmudians especially round? It's a שאלה טובה, שאלה גדולה שאלת. Yeah, very profound question. You know why the eyes of the Talmudiyin are round? מפני שדרים בין החולות. Because they live in sandy terrain. So I guess their eyes have to be in a certain way to protect them from the sand getting in. He waited another hour, and he comes back, and he knocks. Mikan Hillel, Mikan Hillel. Once again, Hillel comes out. It's a long shower, huh? He put on his cloak, and he went out, and he tells him, Beni, mata mevakesh. Once again, look at this patience. Amar lo, I have a question for you. Ma raglehem shel Afrikim rechavot. He says, why is the feet of the Africans so wide? I said, wow, what a profound question. He tells him, because they live in the swamplands. Hillel sees that he came with all these different questions. אמר לו, שאלות הרבה יש לשאול, ומתייענה שמה תכעוס. He says, I have a great many questions to ask, but I'm fearful that you might become angry with me. He says, he tells him, look, you've been here a few times. You have a lot of great questions. He says, listen, I'm scared that you're going to get upset at me, so I come one at a time. Right before Shabbat, Hillel says, have a seat and ask all your questions. Psh, what patience. Most people would say, Shabbat, get out. Amar לו הלל, אמר לו, אתה הוא הלל שקוראים אותך נשיא ישראל? You're Hillel, the one that is called the prince of the Jewish people? He told him, yes. He says, if you're the prince of Israel, let there be not many like you among the Jewish people. Huh? He tells him, why? He says, because you made me lose 400 zuz. He says, you were so vigilant to guard your disposition and stay in patience that I lost 400 zuz on a bet. And I also said that not only would you not get angry, but Hillel would not even take any offense to me doing that. True example of MEE El Kamocha, patience. Another version. Notice I'm specifically using stories in order to internalize, to understand it. Because sometimes when you tell, be like this, we don't understand. The story with Hillel opens it up for us. The story with Yosef opens it up for us. The story with the guy with the plug opens it up for us. Flip side, there was a time that a Gentile came to Bet Shammai. You know Shammai? He's not the same. He's the complete opposite of Hillel. And it says over here, Kama Torot yesh lachem? He asks him, how many Torahs do you have? He tells him, 2. We have 2 Torahs. Torah shebechtav, Torah sheba'al peh. The written Torah and the oral Torah. So I'll just skip. So this guy tells him, teach me your entire Torah on one leg. Right? Shammai says, teach you the Torah on one leg, get out of here, and he throws him out. Patience? No patience. Right? Come to Hillel, and he tells him, I want you to teach me the entire Torah on one leg. Does Hillel throw him away? He says, I'm going to teach you 613, a book with thousands of words and hundreds of pages, and with an endless library of commentary on the Torah. You want me to teach you on one leg? Hillel didn't say that. What? Instead, meaning like give it to me on a bumper sticker. Give me the whole Torah in a bumper sticker. So it capsulizes it for me. It's like, what's in this book? Can you tell me what's in this book? I'll tell you. To be godly. Right? So tell me on one leg. To be godly. This Nochri is telling Hillel, tell me the whole Torah on one leg. Tell me one leg in a bumper sticker. He tells him, De'alach sani lechavirach lo ta'avid. Whatever is hateful to you, do not do to your other fellow. Meaning, v'afta kamocha. Ma shesanui alecha lo ta'aseh lechavircha. He says, Zohi kol Torah kula. This is the entire Torah. Ve'idach pirushahi. And the rest is just an elaboration. Zil gmor, go learn. Whatever you don't like to be done unto you, don't do unto others. That's it. That's the Torah. Everything else is commentary. Look at the patience. Shammai thought it an impossibility to teach everything in such a short period of time. Get out of here. I have no patience for you. Comes Hillel, and he tolerates these questions. He tolerates these people. And he's even able to do it the right way. Hillel Hazaken. There's an important point over here that I really liked, and I want to share it with you, about having patience. A lot of the patience that we were talking about tonight, or in general, notice, is patience with other people. I want to touch on a very important point of how a person needs to have patience with themselves. You have to have patience with yourself. He says, Adam zakuk lesavlanut meruba kefi azulat. We need a lot of patience with the world. Ishto, banav, his wife, his children. Ach yesh ladat, it's very important to know. Shelesavlanut harbe yoter dafka kape atzmo. One has to have a lot of patience with himself. Do you practice patience with yourself? It's very, very important that this midah of patience is being used on yourself as well. Rabbi, the Mashgiach from Lakewood, the Gaon Rabbi Matitya Salomon Shlita, says that the world, Ha'olam Murgal, for instant gratification, what we spoke about earlier in the class. Amazing. Look at this. He gives us beautiful examples. He says, kos kafe. He says a cup of coffee. He says back in the days, you'd have to take the coffee beans and toast them. Then you'd have to grind them. Then you'd have to boil the waters in order to bake or cook the coffee bean. Verak az hakafe muchan lemziga. He says then you'd be ready to drink coffee. Today we have instant coffee. 2 spoons hot water. Another example. A letter. He says back in the days, a letter, you'd have to take several weeks before it comes back to you. And you need a tremendous amount of patience for that letter. I'll stop right here. I'm going to tell you, I'm from that generation of letters. Why? When we first moved from Israel to America, I was at the tender age of 8. My siblings were 6, 4, and 2. And calling to Israel was expensive. Woo! Did they AT&T get you? Wow, hundreds and hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars for just talking to Israel. The long distance rates were crazy. So we were reduced to letters. And letters take a very, very long time. By the time they get it, by the time they write back, it was like a lot of time passed. We ended up switching things around where we would sit in front of a tape recorder, where you put a cassette, a blank cassette, we'd press record, and the whole family would sit there and like, hey, Mama Zohar, how are you? Ma shlomech? Anachnu po be'Amerika. And we start to talk to the cassette. And we would just talk. And then we'd stop, we would flip the cassette over, record another 30 minutes. And we would send that. And then they would send back to us a cassette. And we would that's how we would talk. You know how much patience you need in order to have a connection? Because it was almost impossible. When somebody's making $300, $500 a week, you can't allow yourself to a $1,000 phone bill. It was crazy. So he says over here, we used to wait so long for letters. Now, and you would have to wait for, I even remember, okay, maybe that's not appropriate. But anyways, I remember that, when you wait for a letter, he says today, michtavim, the letters come in a much faster way. As a matter of fact, they even can get there instantly through fax or by email, by computer in the same instant. I love it when people tell you, I'm emailing it to you now. I'm pressing send. It's right here. The patience of waiting for information is gone. He says, even developing photos. Remember developing photos? He says first you'd have to buy film. Then you'd have to take the pictures. Then you take it out of the camera. You give it to the store to develop. The store would have to take a couple of days until it develops the photo. And then you would be able to enjoy it. Today, it's digital. That not only is it the picture is right there on your screen, but if you want to print it, instantly. Patience is gone.
1 hour photo.
1 hour photo was like, wow, 1 hour photo is like, it's like Amazon Prime of those days, right?
1 hour. It was more than that.
So we see that a lot of things we're in the generation of instant gratification. He says another thing. He says in the past a lot of people needed patience. Why? Because in the past that was the energy, that was the way of life. You have to be patient for things to unfold. He says beyamenu, today everything is ben rega, everything is an instant. Zman hamtana hopech liot katzar yoter. More and more, the waiting time has shortened and shortened and shortened and shortened. We were just talking about it earlier in the class, that everything is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. We don't wait for things anymore. We don't wait for things anymore. So he says, the Mashgiach from Lakewood, he says, you have to have patience with yourself. Why? Because you're on a spiritual journey. And spiritual journeys, there's no instant gratification. There's no instant tzaddik. There's no such thing as that. You have to have patience with yourself to become a better version of yourself. You're not going to get MEE El Kamochha overnight. You have to work. You're going to have to test it. Things have to unfold. It might take a month. It might take 6 months. It might take a year. It might take a lifetime. But you need patience with yourself. If you're on a spiritual journey, don't think that your spiritual success is going to happen overnight. He says, to become a Talmid Chacham, to be a learned individual, a Talmid Chacham, you have to invest years upon years upon years with no stop, day and night to learn. He says nowadays, you have people, they step into the yeshiva, and right away, the day after, you see them sitting at the top of the table, giving a shiur. What do you mean? How did you right away think you can, give? Bezman katzar? He says, Alenu ladat. Rav Matityahu Salomon, the Mashgiach from Lakewood says, Alenu ladat. Ki adam eno nehefach belilah echad adam shalem. A person doesn't become a complete individual overnight. Mimadriga, level by level, step by step, slow and steady wins the race in the spiritual game. Tzarich la'amol b'hatmada u'b'savlanut. You have to toil, you have to be consistent, and you have to have patience. Not the way that people think, that as soon as they start learning Torah, just a few days later, few weeks later, few months later, they're going to see blessings in all they do. And right away, they're going to be able to take the fruits of their efforts. Adavar eno kore miyad. He says it doesn't happen instantly. I know a lot of people that have been off the derech their entire life. They keep 2-3 Shabbatot. They're like, oh, where's the millions? Where's the Shlom Bayit? Where's the Nachat from the Iladim? What do you mean? You just started. You just started. Not only that, sometimes people that go through Teshuvah, it's also very difficult. Why? They're a year into it. They're 2 years into it. They're 3 years into it, and their life became more difficult than when they're off the derech. And they can't understand it. I don't understand. I'm keeping Shabbat, I'm not making money. I'm keeping Shabbat, I'm fighting with my wife. I'm keeping Shabbat, my kids don't listen to me. What happened? Well, when I wasn't religious, everything was going unbelievable. I thought that when I was going to be religious, things will work out, things will be better. It's savlanut. Savlanut. We have patience with yourself. You don't know what's your spiritual debt in the Shamayim that you're working off right now. Right away you want to get the reward. At least first away, erase your debt. It says, and sometimes what happens that people do the work, the spiritual work for a short period of time, and they don't see any results. Miyad nityashu. Right away they get disheartened and they get disappointed. And if they don't get the reward, if they don't see success right away, what happens? They go back to their old ways. They go back to their old ways. And this is the point of Rabbi Akiva that says, B'mayim, remember, Rabbi Akiva was famously known to do what? He was sitting by a body of water, and he saw something. He noticed. He saw that there's a rock in the bottom of on the ground, and there was a water dripping on it. One drop at a time falling on this rock. And he saw that when he went closer to the rock, he picks up the rock and he sees that there's a hole in it. And he saw that what? Little by little, drop by drop, little by little, drop by drop, eventually the water persevered and got through. Similarly is the Torah. Little by little, and Ma'im el Torah. Little by little, let it drip by drip, drip by drip, eventually gets through. Niskakim lesavlanut ad en ket. He says, ha'even shel ha'adam. Ha'lev ha'even shel ha'adam. The stone heart of an individual, itmale beruchaniyut. It needs to be filled up with spirituality. However, for that, niskakim lesavlanut ad en ket. In order for you to be a spiritual success, you need a tremendous amount of patience. He says only if a person learns yom achar yom, yom achar yom, ve'osek b'torah mitzvot, ve'azman nimshach, ad she'azman nikar klape chutz. Only eventually, after time, you see that a person is on the right way. It's not instant. Patience is a virtue. As a matter of fact, the midah that we learned today, MEE El Kamocha, it says about this midah, it's the first midah, and it's the simplest midah, and it's the easiest of all the midot, and it's the most important to emulate. Meaning the first one is the simplest and easiest and the most important, but for some people might be the hardest to activate patience in their life. In conclusion, patience is a virtue. Know that you're going to get tested. And once you know that you're going to get tested, make sure to make the right decision. Work on yourself to be less emotionally reactive. Work on yourself to be more calm, more in tuned to your test, and more in tuned to your journey. Start registering the tests as an opportunity for growth. Every time you get tested, stop. I'm learning Tomer DEVORAH. Hashem gave it to me. It's my opportunity to grow, not to react. To grow, not to retaliate. To grow, not to be reactive. And start registering the test as an opportunity for growth and for blessings and for a key to the gate of God's mercy upon you. Because keep in mind, what are we trying to activate? We're on number 1. MEE El Kamocha, God's mercy. How do we activate God's mercy? Through patience. So the more you activate patience in your life, the more that door in the Shamayim opens up for Hashem to have mercy with you. Like we said, we live in a generation that 9 out of 10 people, if you ask him, what do you want from HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Please have rachamim on us. Have mercy on us as a nation. Have mercy on me. Oh, mercy, please. Look at how hard Parnassah is. Mercy, how hard it is to find a zivug. Mercy, how hard it is to have to bear children. Mercy, how hard it is to raise children. Everybody wants Hashem's mercy because life is sometimes so difficult that we can't handle it. No problem. Open up the gate to mercy yourself. Open it up yourself by being patient. Because when you're patient with others, when you're merciful with others, you activate the measure of patience and mercy from Hashem as well. You've opened up the first gate of Yag Midot Rachamim. Imagine you have the power, you have the key to open up that gate. But that's only if you're focused. That's only if you are in tuned to this lesson. And this could be a game changer to your life. Because a lot of the things that people are struggling with is a lack of patience. Especially in this generation, as we've proved it. And especially in Ikvita de Mashiach. And especially that the first thing that we're instructed during Ikvita de Mashiach is to use Micha's version of the 13 attributes of mercy. And the first one is emotional control, patience. If you're not focused on living that life day to day, you'll fall to anger. You'll overreact. You'll have uncontrollable use of words. You'll have irreversible hurt, irreversible consequences. That's what we're doing right now anyways. In order to avoid that, you have to say, I'm going to try something different. I'm going to be a human being that is going to try to act godly. Be'ezrat Hashem, when we merit to even one midah of the 13 attributes of mercy, and when we merit at least to more patience. Hashem avarech otchem, esameach otchem. Next week, number 2.
Thank you.